So, well, I'll just give you one more story. There's a whole bunch of fun stories. When I was at the festival yesterday in Tucson, we were trying to find our booth, and we walked right by the Gideons International booth. And so those guys were handing out Bibles. And I said, oh, no, thanks. We're headed to the Atheist booth. And he said, oh, well, we should have a theological discussion. But we just kept walking. Well, then later I was looking for some ice cream, and I walked back by it, and they stuck out a Bible to me again. Hey, we need to have, this is the best-selling book in all history, it says up there. And I said, well, maybe it is, but it's the least read book in all history, too. No one reads it. And he said, oh, but there's because it has the truth. And I said, really? Have you read the Old Testament? Have you read the Bible? And he said, oh, I have many times. I've read the Bible many times. You have? And he said, have you? And I said, yeah, I've read the Bible many times, too. And he said, well, then you should know. And I said, well, then let me ask you. You're a Bible expert, and you're pushing the Bibles here, and you've read it many times. What do you think about the story of Pinehas? And he just kind of looked at me. We said, well, I haven't memorized the whole thing. Oh, well, what do you think of the story of Korah's rebellion? And he looked at his friend. He didn't know. Well, you said you've read the Bible, right? And it's in all these hotel rooms, right? What do you think of the story of Samson's wedding? No. And so they were trying to sidetrack it by saying, well, what about Jesus? I said, well, I'd like to ask you a question about, have any of you heard the story of Pinehas? Or Phinehas? Some of you know it. Good. So I had to tell those two guys what their own Bible says. Phinehas, some say Phinehas, some say Pinehas, depends what version. In the Bible, there's all these different versions too. You have to be careful. And sometimes they don't agree with each other. Pinehas was a grandson of Aaron, the high priest. And God had told the Israelites, don't mix with the Midianites. Don't mix with them because they don't worship me. They worship Baal Peor instead. The Midianites were kind of like distant cousins because they also descended from Abraham through another wife. And they were south. They were like sort of a neighboring tribe south of the border. But as happens in history, these kissing cousins, there's going to be some intercourse in all senses of that word going on, right? And so there were Israelite men marrying Midianite women. Basically, it was an interracial marriage because racism is also a different national race or different groups. And so a different tribe, and God wanted to keep the Israelites pure. Don't mix, don't intermarry with those evil, wicked Midianites who were only evil and wicked because they worshiped a different God. So much for religious freedom. And he said, in fact, some of them were doing that, so he got angry and he started a plague against it. And he said, take 24,000 people and hang the heads of all the leaders up before the people to show how angry I am because some of you are mixing in with these Midianites. And right in the middle of all this, an Israelite man found a Midianite woman that he fell in love with, and he brought her in and he married her. Their names were Cosby and Zimri. And this angered Pinehas, this righteous priest. He was the grandson from the tribe of the Levites. He was the grandson of Aaron. It angered him so much. And he said, God wants us to keep our nation racially pure and not mix with these outsiders. So he picked up a sword and he went into their tent and he stabbed both of them in the belly and killed them both. Now, if somebody did that today in the U.S., what would happen to them? Wouldn't that be a hate crime of the highest degree? Some American man marries a Buddhist woman and converts to Buddhism, and so we gotta kill him, right? What do you think happened to Pinehas?
He got praised by God.
Yeah, God praised him and so then when Pinehas did that, God said, "Thank you for purifying the people," and He stopped the plague at 24,000 deaths of Israelite deaths, and He rewarded Pinehas with a perpetual priesthood because of the purity of the nation, right? So I asked those guys, do you think that was good? Do you think Pinehas was a good man? They wouldn't answer it. And they wanted to say, well, let me ask you about... No, I said, answer my question. I just have a simple question. You're these Bible experts. And they said, well, let me ask you about this. And I said, you don't want to answer the question? Was Pinehas a good man or not? According to the Bible, he was a good man. Pinehas was a good man. He did a good thing. He committed a murder to keep the people pure. And I don't have time. I could go on forever and ever. I used to be a preacher, you know. I think I told you last time I was here, I wasn't here, but last time I talked here in Phoenix, that the word reverend is a typo. Did you know that? The first letter was originally an N.